Hey guys, welcome back. I'm out in the woods today. Gonna have a little bushcraft coffee and just enjoy being outside with the fire for the evening. Got the two dogs. I doubt Mildred's gonna stick around. I am on the property. People give me guff about that sometimes. Oh, you're just in your backyard. But we're blessed to have a decent sized piece of land, so why not be out in my own woods? I don't gotta worry about getting fire permits and permission and all that stuff. Alright, let's get it going. I'll be glad when I get that fire going. Mosquitoes are awful thick today. Whew. Terrible in the woods. Hi, what are you doing? Stepping on the fire preps. You know, you wouldn't be so thirsty if you weren't trying to keep up with that hound dog out there. Instead of being a good little bushcraft dog. Oh, it went out. Yes! Yes, yes, yes. Oh, 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 oh. Don't die. Curled it up on itself. Don't die. There it goes. Good girl, Whiskey. I hope you can hear the birds all singing their goodnight songs. It's beautiful. I'm going to try out this new French press. First time trying it, so we'll see. I'm just gonna make enough for like a cup. There's a skater in there. I don't think he's gonna drink much. Ooh, that's up. Yikes. Stop it. Originally I had measured this out for the whole thing, but I'm not gonna make a whole pot. It's like, it is 1954 right now, so I don't want to drink a whole pot. There. Back of the bag. I just put this on and let it stand for 4 minutes. I brought a pig ear for Whiskey, but I only brought one because I honestly was not expecting Mildred to stick around. So now I gotta figure out how to break it in two. Want a turkey ticket? Get it. One for you. Right. Here. think it's actually been over 4 minutes now. Ooh, I think that's rugged. Better than freeze-dried. This is a neat little press. Slides right out of this insulated sleeve. GSI Outdoors. So I have a story to tell. I believe it was July 2nd. My sister was over visiting, and my mother was coming in the afternoon to pick up the kids and my sister and take them all to her house so that I could get ready for our Independence Day barbecue. And Mildred, you know how, I mean, I've said before, she doesn't stick around. She's a hunting dog. She goes off and does her own thing. Chases squirrels and chipmunks, you name it. So it's not unusual for her to disappear for a little while and then come back later. Well, Joe had mentioned a couple days prior that he had weed whacked by Junebug's grave. So I went up to her grave to go see between 10 and 10:30 in the morning. And when I walked back to the house, I remember hearing a car door slam. And I looked, and one of the kids had gotten into the Nissan, went after some stuff that they'd left in there, and got out. And no biggie. It was like 85 degrees that day. You probably know where I'm going with this. So that was between 10 and 10:30. 1 o'clock in the afternoon rolls around. My mother comes to get my sister and the kids. And when I walked out to the car with them, I remember thinking I gotta grab Mildred so she doesn't follow them down the driveway. And she wasn't around. So I didn't think, you know, I didn't say anything at the time to Mom and the kids. And so they pulled out of the driveway, and as soon as they pulled out of the driveway, I'm like, I've got to find this dog. I haven't seen her for hours. This is weird. So I started to get a little worried. And then I was thinking, well, she loves to ride. What if, you know? And I looked in, because the Nissan was parked further up, you know, from the house. And as soon as my mother pulled out, our Ford Escape was right there. So I peeked in the window of the Ford Escape, and as soon as I did that, it hit me. I knew where she was. So I went over to the Nissan, and sure enough, she was in there. And she was in pretty rough shape. She was panting and overheated, obviously. All the windows were up. She had jumped in the vehicle when the child had gotten in there to get what they needed, and they didn't realize she was in there because she jumped in right behind them so quick, and so they shut her in there. Well, there was some Polar Pop drink cups in the cup holders, and I could see she had tried to paw at those and get to drink out of them, and she was drooling and she was a mess. I had to get her out, and I looked, and of course the first thing I did, you know, when I see her in there, went to open the door, it wouldn't open. Well, I had a feeling what had happened, but I still checked every single door just to make sure, and sure enough, she had stepped on the lock to lock all the doors. And I looked in the window, and the keys were in the ignition. So I ran into the house and called Joe on the landline because cell phone service sucks here. So I called him at work. Thankfully, he picked up quick. And I said, hey, you got a spare key? I said, Mildred locked herself in the Nissan. He's like, nope, I don't have a spare key. I said, well, I'll try to pick the lock. Anyway, so I just hung up. I ran out, and I had my lock pick set. And of course, there's only one keyhole, and that was on the driver's side. And she was sitting in the driver's side seat, so I took my set out and I start working at it to try to pick the lock. And all of a sudden, I'm getting like these stings all over my legs and my feet. And I look down, and I am standing on a huge anthill, and they are just all over my shoes and my pants and crawling in my clothes. It was one of the biggest anthills I've ever seen, right under the driver's side door. So I was getting nailed. So I said, well, scrap that. You know, all the while she's looking at me, you know, out the window, and it's just heartbreaking. Just funny because I've told this story before and I didn't get emotional. I didn't even get emotional when it happened. So she's looking at me and I'm looking at her. I get out of the ants. I'm still getting chewed though. And I went and I just grabbed the hatchet off my truck rack, and so she was still sitting in the driver's seat, and I hit the passenger side window twice, and it broke the second time, and just glass everywhere. And I got her out, and when she got down on the ground, she's kind of wobbly, you know, and she went underneath the porch, and she went way up under the porch, right up against the foundation of the house. Because it was cooler under there, and she just laid down in the dirt. And I'm like, oh no, you can't. We gotta cool you down quicker than that. This isn't gonna do. So had to army crawl in underneath the porch and drag her out, and then carried her to the bathtub. Set her in the tub, and I just start running cool, not ice cold, but cool water on her. And I'm just pouring the water on her, and I got a bowl in there, you know, to rinse the kid's hair and stuff. And I filled that up, and I had that in front of her face to see if she'd drink. She wouldn't even drink at first. She was a mess. I was almost expecting her to have a seizure, to be honest with you. So after a few minutes, she starts to drink water. And I put the plug in the tub, and I put a few inches of cool water in there, and she's starting to drink water. I just keep pouring it over the top of her and talking to her, and you know, she started to cool down. She was still breathing pretty heavy. So after that, of course, Joe had tried calling me back, and so I left her there because she was okay. She's hanging out in the cool water. It wasn't deep enough, and she was standing at that point. So I called him back real quick, and I just said, you know, he's like, you can break a window if you need to. I said, I already did. I already did. I said, I'm cooling her off, and so then I hung up with him, and after I get off the phone with him, I strip right down to my skivvies because I still have ants in my clothes. And then get Mildred she gets out of the tub on her own. Well, I don't know what they saw, but hopefully they don't go too far. Oh, 'cause I don't want to chase them. I think I just hear the neighbor's dog. Anyways, so Mildred gets out of the tub of her own accord, and I get her up on the couch, and I turn the ceiling fan on, and I get a box fan, and I plug that in, and I have that blowing on her, and so she just lays there, and I keep checking on her at that point, but she's, you know, she's coming around, she's cooling down, and she never, you know, had any seizures or anything like that. And so once I got her set up with her fans and everything on the couch, and she's cooling off, I jump in the shower, just kind of soap my hair up and stare at the wall for a while, kind of like, whoa. Okay, that just happened. Oh. So that was an adventure, and at first I wasn't going to say anything to the kids. But the more I thought about it, I was like, well, they weren't actually there to see the dramatic situation unfold, so that didn't like traumatize them or anything. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, they need to know that we all need to be careful and make sure that she doesn't get, or Whiskey even, gets locked in the vehicles. I think if it had been Whiskey with that thick, heavy double coat, she would have been way worse off, or even dead. She is sensitive to the heat. But as you can see, she's fine. She is fine and dandy. Thank God. That would have been horrible. Try to explain that to the kids, and then the one responsible would have just been devastated. As if losing the dog in the first place wouldn't have been bad enough. Jeepers. So thank goodness it turned out the way that it did. Alright guys, well, it is 20:29, 8:30. So I'm going to put my fire out and pack up and head back up to the house. It's getting kind of dark to film anyway. But thanks for hanging out with me today and enjoying my French press with me. It's just so nice to be out here. It's been 4 months since I've done this. 4 months. And last time it was a rainy, freezing cold day. I struggled getting the fire going. I almost quit. And I froze my tuchus off. But it was still nice to be outside. Even tonight with the mosquitoes, thick as they are. The birds are singing. It's just so nice. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. And I'll catch you on the next one.